The Broken Dub podcast analyzes what makes Olympic athletes, comedians, writers, and creatives great. Season 1 is titled Breakthroughs. This season of the podcast delves into the breakthroughs we have in our respective fields when we destigmatize mental health and move past the roadblocks within our minds. Executive produced by Ellen Utrecht of Mike TV. Smash the like, subscribe, follow. You know the drill. This is the Broken Dub podcast, and I'm your host, Danny Simmons. Today we have on the pod, we have Tri Bourne. I mean, what a stud, 6'6", we respect it, you know how we do. He's a professional beach volleyball player, former pro, indoor player, and NCAA D1 standout for the Trojans. Come on, I'm not even there, I'm a UCLA guy, but I gotta respect it. Bourne has been a part of the United States indoor and outdoor beach national team since 2005. He's a legend, he's a savage, he loves the Hawaiian island of Oahu, where he grew up. And here he is. Thanks for coming on. Thank you, Tri. Good to meet you, brother.
What's happening, Danny? Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on. Love it.
Did we do a good hype up? Is that a decent hype job?
Yeah, I'm hyped up. I'm ready to go now. Love the intro.
Come on, man. So obviously Hawaii, just to like start it off, isn't what is the Aloha vibes? I mean, I lived there for 2 months, dude, and 2.5 months. I played in the Hawaii Collegiate Baseball League, so. You know, obviously, you live on Oahu? Is that right?
Yeah, born and raised on Oahu. Yep.
How does it feel?
Oh man, I was very spoiled from a young age, and when you're born and raised there, you don't really realize it until you leave. So it's funny because everyone on the Rock wants to get off. Everyone's like, I got to get out and explore and go see stuff, and then you realize how good you've had it all these years once you leave. I was coming to California thinking, I was like, oh, it's like beach towns and like all this great stuff. And I show up, I'm like, the water's kind of dark and it's cold. And I was such a spoiled brat. My other friends were coming from like the Midwest and seeing California and just like, this is the most beautiful place on earth. And I kind of had like an opposite. I really do love California, and that's why I've lived here so long. But my perspective was so skewed when I first came out here.
I was like, you got to go to the North Shore. You haven't seen. You think Huntington Beach is beautiful? Check out. I mean, come on.
Right.
Oh my
you
goodness.
guys only have one shore here.
Yeah.
There's the other three.
Yeah. Where's Manoa Falls, dude? You can jump it. I mean, that's the first time I jumped off. I used to be afraid of heights, and I remember jumping off that ledge, and it hurt my bottom. I was like, dude, This thing's blowing me up. But I got over my fear of heights. I didn't even know where I was jumping. So Manoa Falls, it's so much exploration of fear and all that stuff that I'm sure helped you in sports. Obviously, what does it feel like to represent Team USA? I mean, it's a really huge accomplishment.
Yeah, it's definitely huge. I mean, growing up in Hawaii, you're kind of isolated from the mainland, like professional sports and even the national team, you know, all the national team programs and stuff are on the mainland. So really, like, all I watched was Olympics and that kind of thing. And I was raised by athletes. My mom and dad both played a ton of sports. They weren't professional, but triathlons, marathons, canoe paddling. My mom used to be a skier. My dad's a surfer. Just all sports in my family. They're PE teachers as well. So they kind of raised me. I was raised, like, seeing the Olympics every 4 years, and it was like a huge deal in my house, or every 2 years really, with the Winter Olympics. So the national team would come out and have tryouts in Hawaii once a year or so, and I just tried out because my friends were trying out, and one day I made it, and just to like go up to the mainland and be in some of the camps, and eventually I worked my way up to where I got to go travel and get a USA jersey, like a jersey with the American flag on it, USA, my name and everything. And that was probably one of the coolest moments of my sports career. Even to this day, I try not to take it for granted, putting that USA jersey on every day.
Yeah, you can't, that's a feeling. It's surreal, right? To go from idolizing these athletes to realizing you are one of those athletes. What was that moment where you know, obviously that's one of your highs when you put on the Team USA jersey? Was there ever anything that you didn't see coming that might have been, you know, more adversity than you anticipated, and you're like, shoot, how do I approach that?
Well, I mean, it was like adversity the whole time because you're playing against the best in the country. So for me, I think my parents did a good job in raising me to like just push my limits, but not make my self-worth rely on whether I succeed or not. So I would just kind of attack it like, let's see what happens. Like, I'm going to try my best. I'm going to work hard and see what happens. And I kind of continued to surprise myself. But I expected the adversity. I kind of expected everything to be really difficult because it's the national team, right? So it was almost scary. But then I kept like moving up. The more I challenged myself to like go through these kind of scary situations, trying out for teams that I didn't think I could probably make, and then doing it, kind of like that's what gave me confidence, like to take another step up that ladder. But the adversity is, if there's not adversity, you're probably not setting your goals in the right place, you know.
Boom. Bars. That's a bar of truth right there. Come on, right? Let's go. We're not shooting for the stars. We don't really want to be amongst the moon. We want to go to the Milky Way. Come on, baby. Like, right. Shoot for the stars and land amongst the moon. I'm like, no, dude. Let's shoot for the stars and let's go to the Milky Way galaxy or the Andromeda. Let's get to the edge. Let's get past Pluto. So obviously, you grew up in Hawaii, and I was there for only 2.5 months, and I it's a physical space, so you have to engage your environment, but there is a lot of relaxation and beauty to appreciate. How did you kind of find that juxtaposition of like, oh man, this is a relaxing place. A lot of people are in is it the Aloha lifestyle? Is that what I remember?
Aloha spirit.
Aloha spirit. It's just like everything's good. How do you take that and go, no, my Aloha spirit is I have that vibe, but I also grind.
Yeah. As you probably learned living there for 2 months, it has a very, very strong sense of culture out there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is about family and culture and relaxed lifestyle. Just being outdoors and around the ocean, it just relaxes you in general. There's not that, you don't have far to go. You're usually not in a huge rush because you're on a little island, but it's also like a warrior culture, and when it comes to sports, like people really, I grew up watching sports and loving volleyball is one of the biggest sports there. And I would go to the games and I'd see how the crowd and the people come together around that team and how much people love their own, people that are from Hawaii, and how it really can flip because people think Hawaiians are really chill and laid back, but then when you rub them the wrong way, it flips, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of that we learned through sports is where like you put in the work and you do all the tough things. You do it for the right reasons, for not only for yourself, for the culture, for the family, for your community. And when you do things for other reasons outside of yourself, I think it just gives you more energy in general. So I don't know. I think that's kind of where it comes from, is watching volleyball and seeing how big of a sport it is in that community. And then just being so fired up to work hard and see how far I could take it.
Yeah. It's amazing, right? There is that, some of what on the Pali Highway, they used to say this is where the warriors, right? They used to have these battles and sacrifice, eat humans, right? Isn't that something like when you go around with the locals, they'll make you like, if you go there at night, you'll be eaten by the spirits. I'm like, all right, I'm not going there. Yeah. I'm like, I'm good, dude. So obviously, the spirit of the ocean calms us down, right? We don't understand it, but it helps with mental health and meditation.
For sure.
Do you meditate?
Yeah, I do.
How has meditation helped you improve as an athlete?
I kind of picked it up in high school. I remember one specific game where nobody really pushed it on me or made me think about it too much in high school. But I remember one specific game where for some reason I was really fired up. I'm like, I'm going to have the best game of my life. And I went out there and literally had the worst game of my life because I was so in my head. I was trying to think my way through every move because I just had decided I'm going to do everything perfectly. And then I had the worst game ever. And that was like really confusing to me. I was like, what just happened? I was going to have the best game of my life and I literally had the worst. What happened? Yeah. And I think that kind of sparked something in my head like, okay, let's not do that again. Whatever I just did, trying to think my way through everything. I've been good all these years and it was by just having fun and just like not really thinking about anything, letting my practice and the work that I've put in speak for itself or apply itself on the court when I'm in the match. so that just kind of got the wheels turning. And I remember my coach would, after that, I think I had a chat with him about it, and he's like going to every player around and he's telling all the guys, okay, you focus on this, you focus on this, you focus, and you just try, don't think. And that's all he'd say to me. Just stop thinking, stop.
That's my favorite quote. Do you like Bull Durham? Have you seen that movie?
No.
You're going to watch it. Please watch it with your wife after this.
Yeah.
So Bull Durham, Kevin Costner goes up to Tim Robbins and he's pitching. He's obviously a tall guy with all they say $1 million arm, 10-cent head. I'm not saying that's you at all. You're a smart guy, obviously. But he goes, don't think, meat. It'll only hurt the ball club. So it's like, don't think, meat. It'll only hurt. And paralysis by analysis, all the stuff we do know about flow. You've done the work, you've done the routines, you've packed everyone, you've worked on your technique. The more we think, the worse we do. The more I thought about pitching and throwing strikes, the more I threw balls. It's weird, right?
It's super weird. And the more I've gone through experiences, like basically from that day on, it was like stuck in my head. So I was like, to a certain extent, just trying to figure out what was going on here. I didn't know that it was sports psychology, that it was mindfulness or any of that stuff, and then it got introduced a little bit over the years, and I started thinking about it and like, okay, where do I want my head at? And then in college we were the number 1 ranked team in the country going into my junior year by far. We were supposed to dominate, and we kind of had a shit year, and I just saw my team kind of falling apart. It wasn't necessarily the pressure, but it was the expectation that we had for ourselves, and we kind of just assumed that it would happen, and that we just didn't know what was going on. We were young. Mm-hmm. And the next following season we completely switched our mindset as a team, and we just started rolling again. We started rolling teams and getting back to number 1 in the country. And that season was one where I specifically sat down and started like taking notes of like, okay, what helps me? Where do I want my mind at in practice versus in the game? And that season I felt so in control that I just would stay in my zone as much as possible. And towards the end of the year, we ended up losing a match, but we still got into the Final Four because we had a really good record. Mm-hmm. And then we got to the Final Four, and the team kind of fell apart again. But I felt the team kind of falling apart around me, and I was like, no, I know where to stay mentally. Like I knew where to stay. And I ended up having like the best match of my life. We still lost the match because I was the only one having a good match. And I wasn't like the point scorer for our team. I wasn't supposed to be. But that match I was. And that was just more like, it ended up being the last match of my career, but my college career. And that kind of solidified in my mind, like, okay, this mental thing
it's the real deal.
Yeah. It's going to get me where I want to go, or it's going to get me beyond where I think I can go. And that's when I picked up my first sports psych book. I got a pro contract overseas in Puerto Rico and Turkey. I remember reading The Inner Game of Tennis.
That's right.
In Turkey, and just getting super into it and just fully investing my mind into it. And I mean, I'm 7-8 years into my professional volleyball career now. And I've just 100%, that's one of the 3 legs of what I do is, working on my body, mind, and craft. Each one's just as important. I could even argue that the mind's the most important because it is the one that translates to off the court best. I don't have to be in great shape to live my daily life, but I have to be mentally strong to live a good daily life.
Now you got to tell me, what did you write down? What was that first thing that you wrote down on your goal list or on your, that changed your mind? Do you remember it? Do you remember anything about anything specifically? What was it?
I don't remember it
from college.
Specifically from college. Honestly, I took that don't think mantra really far. Like Good. Even everyone, it changes based on my mood or where I'm at in the season, and maybe I'm losing. So I just change that mantra or whatever it is that I'm like repeating to myself, or I'll be like, all right, none of this is working. I'm going back to don't think, just say don't,
Yeah.
But the one thing I think I remember most is observe behavior without judgment. Just repeating that to myself. Like after a play, like I make an error and just instead of like reacting to it, like getting furious or mad or like trying to make an excuse or whatever. It's just like observe it. And you just kind of, okay, I hit the ball. The ball kind of went past my body and I hit it out. Like that happens. Rather than like, God damn it, I hit it out at the wrong time. And it was probably a touch. Freaking ref's not even looking.
Yeah.
Rather than just like, oh, I just hit the ball out because it got past me and now the next play is happening. So I'm over it, So it helped me bring myself back to the moment really quickly and not go down this like rabbit hole of negativity. And so that's probably the statement that I wrote down that stuck with me the most was observe behavior without judgment.
That's beautiful. That's literally what therapists tell you to do. Look at your behavior. I just smashed a cold brew right before this, by the way. I respect it. Yeah, cheers. Where is my cheers? It's gone. Yes, Primo Paso, Ethiopian beans. But yeah, no, it's amazing, right? When you start to visualize and do certain things. I had a similar experience, obviously not at the level as you, like Final Four, but it was, I'm going to tell you, Division II baseball. It's not as cool, but D2 College World Series final game, championship game. All of our kind of stud guys who were supposed to be the guys, they did that thing. It fell apart. We were winning. We should have won. We're the best team in the nation. How do we lose? And in the 8th and 9th inning, I pitched really well, but it was just because of attitude, and like not even thinking. I was like, oh shoot, my elbow was down. I threw a pitch high. Doesn't matter. Next pitch. It's a next pitch mentality. I mean, that's sort of what, even with this podcast, right? Damn it. The thing's not interfacing right. Next pitch. Change it. Switch it to the H6. Record. Boom. We're going to the next question. It's that kind of mentality that changes everything. And obviously, Zen and the Art of War is a good book too for people. And Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, sounds like a little bit of that too, right? Just observing thoughts or things. Oh, I feel a little bit tired. Tired's an emotion that maybe we can't even understand. Let's just move past that. It's great. I feel that. And now we're going to go play our sport. What, obviously, can you tell us a little bit about and I'm going to botch how to say everything. Your chronic inflammatory muscle disease called dermatomyositis.
Dermatomyositis, yeah.
Oh, dude, come on. I should have asked you. Dermatomyositis.
Myositis, yep.
Myositis. What is it? And can you just tell us a little bit about that and how you overcame that mentally and physically?
Well, long story short, basically we were battling to make the Rio Olympics last quad, and came down to the end. We didn't make it. We were the first team out. Basically 2 teams per country get to go. So 3 American teams qualified, and one of them had to get the lowest ranked one had to get eliminated. That was me. So I come off that season, and I had an ankle thing, a cyst in my ankle that was bothering me for about a season and a half at that point. So we were like, all right, let's just take care of it, pull the cyst out, patch it back up. I have surgery, and then and at this point, a lot of I was the youngest guy that was competing for that Olympic spot. And I felt like this next quad was really like my time to shine. I was coming in, I had experience, and I was coming into my own physically, mentally, everything. And I just needed to get this little cleanup surgery done. And then so I have the surgery. I'm starting to get back, rehab. It goes well. And I start training for the next season. This is supposed to be the big year for me. This is how I'm thinking in my head. And then I start getting like this inflammation, and I'm like a little tired at practice and blah, blah. It starts progressing week by week by week. It starts getting worse and worse. And as an athlete, like, you're tired. So what? Like that you're supposed to be tired and you're supposed to push through it. But it started getting ridiculous to the point where my partner was telling me, hey dude, something's wrong with you. And I'm like, trying to push through. I was getting inflammation in my hands, so I couldn't block. And we're putting boxing gloves on my hands, like mitts, so that the ball wouldn't bend my fingers back because my joints hurt so much. And then I couldn't like fully bend down to get a ball because my knees had so much inflammation in them. So basically right before the season started, this next season where I, was really I thought I was going to.
You were going to go off. I
thought I was. And then the doctor told me, no, you can't get on the plane. They did a blood test, and my muscle enzyme levels, which I didn't know what the hell that was, were insanely high. So basically I'm sitting out. My partner goes overseas and starts playing with another guy. They're, doing well, whatever, having fun, playing in season. And I'm just on the sidelines for like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And we don't have a diagnosis, and I'm just sitting there. Finally, things would get worse and worse. I'm like super inflamed and lethargic and tired. And I ended up getting a muscle biopsy. So they took some muscle out of my quad, and they diagnosed me with this inflammatory muscle disease. Basically, the best bet is that when we had surgery, sometimes your body can just get confused. It's being cut open by a foreign object. And basically it took my muscle cell and started recognizing it as something that's bad, something that my body needed to like send inflammation to. So it started sending inflammation to my entire body. And that's my autoimmune disease that I figured out that I had. So long story short, it took almost 2 years for me to get back on tour. And so I'm just sitting on the sideline watching everyone move ahead. And at the end of I'm like losing track already, 2017.
That's good. It means you've done a lot of stuff with your life. Come on. It's a good thing. You're like, what year was it when I crushed this thing?
End of my second year back. Yeah. I came back and I called up my one of my good childhood friends who's a top player on tour. And I was like, and he wasn't playing good at the time. So I hit him up, and I was like, dude, you're not doing too hot right now. And I think I'm ready to come back. Like once we got on the meds, and I was on like these steroids for a while, and I got myself back to where I could play. The doctors cleared me. So I called my buddy while he was losing, like after a bad tournament. It's like, dude, you're not winning anyway. Like, you want to go play with me?
And who's your buddy? Who's your buddy? So you're double blocks.
We're both blockers, and it didn't make sense for us to partner up. But I was like, you got nothing to lose. You're losing with your current partner. I got nothing to lose because I haven't played in 2 years, and I'm just looking to go play and have fun with volleyball again. And so we partner up, and we end up doing pretty decent because we're both, good players. We get like a third place, I think, in Chicago, which is the final AVP, and we decided to go overseas on the World Tour. And it's a 3-star event, so 3 out of 5 stars. It's a high-level event, but not the highest. But we go over there just to see what we can do, and we end up winning the event. So we won the event, and we realized that was the first tournament that counted for Olympics in 2020. That was the first event that they were counting. And we're like, well, we're currently the leaders in the world for the 2020 Olympic qualification. So let's just partner up. Let's just keep going. I mean, I'll play with my best friend like that. That sounds great. So yeah, we're still playing together. Obviously the 2-year qualification turned into 3 years, and we're going for the Olympics right now. We're in the thick of it, and the cutoff will be June, and I'm feeling good physically. I'm still on a few meds, and I get a infusion, but yeah.
And what's his name? Sorry if I don't want to.
Trevor Crabb.
So you and T Crabs just link up. two savages in the sand. You got a Tri Bourne and T Crabs coming at you. 2 block daddies, twin towers.
Yeah.
Deal with it, right? Pack attack. I like that. That's cool. That's fun. And so you're kind of like a little bit chip on your shoulder, doing something disruptive, a little different angle. Hey, we're going to come at you with, usually you have probably like more athletic outside hitter type guy, and then a blocker.
Usually you're a little more specialized. So you'll have your big guy at the net and your small guy in the back. Okay. Me and Trevor are both not huge blockers, and we're kind of crazy. We hate to admit that defenders are better at defense than us. We're like those, like the big guy in basketball that's like,
you're like Draymond Green. Yeah.
So we're out to prove it to the world, and we're the only split blocking team in the U.S. actually. I mean, unless there's some partner switches this year, but so we definitely have a chip on our shoulder to prove something.
That's pretty cool. And do you guys have any rituals when you compete? Like, what do you do when you enter? What are they? And how do these kind of like these rituals? Like, sometimes people LeBron throws, obviously chalk in the air. Some people, they tie their shoes a certain way. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I have my routine. I actually started with meditation, mindfulness, basically just trying to forget everything. We do our preparation. We watch film as a team. We actually have a sports psychologist, the USOC sports psychologist that we meet with every week as a team.
Cool.
So, we make sure all those things are in line, and then I try to forget about it all before the match. If it's not ingrained in my head, if I have to think to like bring it out, I'm not going to use it today. That's the way I think of it. It has to be ingrained and already in there so that I can be fully clear during the match, and that stuff will apply itself. So I meditate beforehand. It varies how I do it, about 5 minutes. I kind of like to do it in more crowded spaces now, because back in the day, it was like, the first time you meditate, you're like opening your eyes, you're like, I hope no one's watching me right now. This is embarrassing. But as the years went on, I mean, it gets, people start to like it more and more.
I felt the same thing when my coach was like, hey, go thank the blades of grass. You're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So exactly. I understand that, man.
Yeah.
Do you have any sage nuggets you've gotten from this Team USA, obviously, like this sports psychology that you want to share? I mean, that sounds so informative. I mean, I remember, do you know this guy, Ken Revisa? Do you know Ken Revisa? He passed away, rest in peace, 2020. Ken Revisa was a sports psychologist for baseball. He wrote a few books. I'd highly recommend him. He has a very different mentality. His is like, it's a chip on the shoulder. You could definitely apply it. And he obviously passed away. But he turned so many pitchers who had talent into incredible athletes. It's poetic, but any sage advice from your, I mean, are you guys doing it in a Zoom setting? What's it like? Tell me a little bit about that if you could.
Yeah, it's a Zoom setting. And he's kind of building for us. It's like building week on week, where this off season, it was a lot of we just don't even talk much. We just get straight into exercises where we're all practicing together, whether like we're literally doing things where we're counting breaths together, like really simple stuff that doesn't seem to have any purpose. But I think what he's getting at is he's building a foundation for us to trust each other, be comfortable around each other in that kind of vulnerable state, and to be able to allow each other to go there into that deep meditative state and like to work together in that state, and also just to practice in general, like mindfulness, so like being aware of where your head is. So we'll like do exercises where you just say what comes up, whatever comes up. I'm thinking, I'm hearing, there's a dog, like literally anything, breathing, so it's simple stuff like that. But then, like, for example, we're meeting at world championships every day in between matches and whatnot. And he's helping me with stuff that I dealt with in the previous match. So it's like me coming in to hit, and I feel like I'm telegraphing things. So he's helping me to do drills where I can visualize or think about something after I pass, when I'm about to go hit, to allow me to come in with multiple options rather than seeing one thing and like, I'm going to hit it. Because when you do that, the defender can read it,
Yeah.
So he's just helping me to be present for longer periods of time, and helping me like, okay, so you pass, go watch the setter's hands. Like, instead of going outside and getting ready for my approach and just like looking at the defense and where I want to hit it, look at the setter's hands. Like, observe something that's outside of your control, like outside of your body. And then when the ball gets to you, you're just going to react, because you're not thinking about like where you want to hit it yet. You're thinking about where you want to hit it right when you want to hit it. It's just small stuff like that. And we practice a lot, and it could be something practice, but the way that he kind of explains it is like, mindfulness is like a muscle. It's like lifting weights. You have to do it more often to get better at it.
Wow. That's really cool. I mean, obviously it's just an incredible experience that you're able to, because also like if you're visualizing something that's outside of your control and you're just seeing it, your body's already actually probably moving just innately because you've done this action, you've done this so many times, and then it's getting you in this position, but you're actually not doming yourself with the other stuff that we normally would dome ourselves with, right?
Yeah.
It's like me, like I'm right now like, dude, COVID, what's going on with the abs? They've disappeared. They're gone. How do I get to my metaphorical, hands, which are known as Shred City? You're like, dude, you know the drill. You've got to do the ab workout every night. You've got to stop eating carbs. You've got to exercise more. I'm older now than ever. It sucks. So it's cool that you're fighting Father Time and like winning. Now, obviously, you're on Team USA. You're a stud. When was the first time you knew you had the gift with volleyball? Like you knew you had it. Like what? And what did it feel like? What was it like? That moment that you're like, dude, I think I could be the best.
Yeah. I think a huge moment for me was when I was a kid, because I grew up at a beach club, and my foundation for volleyball was just having fun at this beach club with my friends. There's a beach volleyball court there. So that's kind of how I learned the game. And then I went and played indoors, and that's kind of what you do when you're in school and you play indoors and go through that system. But I always felt that I was the best every time I went out to the beach. And there's this 4-man tournament called the Daddy Hayne 4-man. And when I was a junior in high school, I won it as the open. So as the top guy on, it's a draw. So every team has one top guy, and I won the tournament as the top guy. And it was kind of at that moment where I was like, okay, like I'm good at indoor, but I dominate on the beach. Like it's just like in my head, I was like, okay, I own the beach. I still went to college and played indoor and all that, but anytime I step on the beach, like I know that that's my game. So I think that was a huge confidence booster because that was a big tournament to me growing up as a kid. And then after that, when I got to the beach and I came out with confidence, one of the veterans, John Hyden, saw that in me. And he decided to pick me up like way earlier than any young guy usually gets picked up. And I think it was our second or third international tournament together. We won it. And it was a full on Grand Slam, like the biggest tournaments you can get, biggest prize money. And we just rolled straight from the qualifier and won the entire tournament.
And how old were you?
I was 23, maybe
23,
something like that.
Champion.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I wasn't really on the scene yet. So I was like the young guy playing with this old guy. He's literally the oldest player on tour. And then all of a sudden I was like, I had a target on my back. Like everyone knew who I was, the whole world. And it was like, oh, this guy's the real deal. And now you're on tour. I guess I'm on tour with the best in the world. And ever since that day, it was like, this is where I belong.
Cool. It's good to feel like you belong. So there's no doubt in your mind on that. And how do you take, like, obviously you've had a lot of past success and then move forward? A lot of people, we talk about it, you have imposter syndrome, you have whatever all these things are, but then, you have success and then you just want to keep rebuilding. I had a coach that said, we don't rebuild, we reload. And I love that. It was like it was kind of savage. He's like, we lost the number, we were the number one team in the nation. We don't rebuild, we reload. How do you reload in your life?
For me, I think it's important to do a full reset where you like if you win a tournament or you have a great season. For me, a whole season is like a match. I can't just like win the second tournament of the year and be like, yes, this season was great. Even if I win the first three, it's like, okay, that's a great start. But now I pretty much made it harder for myself for the rest of the year. It's all about putting together one full season for me. It's not about putting together one tournament or one match. When I step back from it and look at it from like a bird's eye view. But I don't know, I guess resetting it's just a challenge. I look at it as more of a challenge. Like I just won. Now I have the challenge of having to get over it as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. It's not something that's like a gift to you. Like, oh, now you won this tournament. now things are going to be easier. It's like, no, now things are going to be harder. You earn that, and that's a good thing. But you better step your game up, and you better stay on top of it, because all the temptations to slack off are going to be there. They're going to present themselves, and it's going to feel good to like go party or celebrate or listen to the people that want to tell you the thing that they think you want to hear. But it's just discipline. It's like, what are your ultimate goals? So stepping back, putting pen to paper sometimes is great. And just looking at like, okay, why am I here? What am I doing? What are my priorities? And then narrowing it back down to like the day that you're specifically on right now. That's kind of what helps me to reload, I guess.
So you said you write some things down. Is there anything that you've written down, like why you're here on this? Is that like more why you're here on this planet, or why you're here on the team?
Well, it's kind of like like, what am I doing right now? Okay, I'm 31 years old. I live in Hermosa Beach because I have my wife here that I met in college, and like really broad stuff like that, just like obvious stuff. And then it's like, I play volleyball. My priorities are family, right? So like put that at the top. And then below, okay, is my family set? Like, is everything good in terms of that? And if it is, or it isn't, then I'll work on that one thing. Like, okay, everything's not perfect with my wife right now, so we need to fix that before we even move down the list. And if I know I'm trying to get to my career and work on that, I have to figure out the things in a prioritized way,
That's right.
So then if I get to my career part of things, I can kind of start narrowing and, okay, I'm at this point in my career, and I'm in this season. I have this team. What can I do this year? What's on the table? I want to win this tournament and this tournament and this tournament, because these are my priorities. What am I going to have to do this month to do that? What am I going to have to do this week? What am I going to have to do today to achieve that? And for me, that's how I can like relax into like my today, is if I understand that everything's in order and my priorities are straight.
Wow, it's like literally John Wooden-esque, right? The pyramid of success, but kind of flipping it, right? What do? You have to build a strong foundation, family first. I think he had a lot of faith. I actually, as a child, was lucky enough to meet him, so I read his book, and it's just incredible.
Yeah.
Tying your shoes, right? Most important thing for being a good basketball player is how you tie your shoes. Same thing. It's like, okay, I'm here in Hermosa. My mission statement is I want to live a fulfilling life. That comes first. I want to make my wife happy. That's first before I'm going to win gold, right?
Right.
Any mentors? I mean, obviously you're wise beyond your years. Any mentors that helped you get there, and who are they, and how'd they find you, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of coaches along the way. I mean, growing up in Hawaii, there's a lot of mentors that are outside of sports as well. Like I said, it's a very like family oriented culture, and I didn't have any family outside of my immediate family in Hawaii. So, the aunties and uncles and then the coaches, I feel like those were all mentors for me. But one that stands out more recently is my trainer, my fitness trainer, Mikhail Jenkins. He used to train my old partner, and he took me under his wing when we partnered up with my old partner, John Hyden. And now he's retired off the world tour, and I'm still working out with his trainer, who is now my trainer for about 7 years. But it's just, I work out in his garage. I drive an hour up 3 times a week to his house to work out in his garage. And he's just really motivational. He cares a lot. He's fully invested in my journey, and I've fully invested in him. I'm all about building a team, like surrounding myself with the right people and then trusting them. And he's been like the biggest staple for me. Like the first guy that I called when I got cleared by the doctor is like, "Hey, I'm good to go. Are you? Like, are we doing this again?" And it was like, it took 2 seconds. He's like, "I'm in. Let's go. Get over here."
Yes. That's like the Gronk Tom Brady moment, right?
Right. Yeah.
Cue Bad Boys soundtrack, right?
No, it kind of was like that. But he's also a mentor of mine. He's, older, much wiser. He's had a lot of experience with certain athletes within this sport. and he's kind of like my Mr. Miyagi as well. When I have problems, I'm calling him from overseas at random times in the night for him. And he's talking me through stuff. He's sending me quotes, and he's watching us. Anything that's live streaming, he's watching. And I had him on my podcast actually a while back, and he's just a really unique guy, super fascinating, and he's brilliant with the human body, the things that he can do.
We got a couple plugs. We got obviously Cobra Kai and the Karate Kid. I'm Daniel's son. That's my name, Daniel by trait, Danny Simmons. But so it's funny, like Daniel's son, wax on, wax off. It makes sense. It's everything. Cobra Kai is also incredible. I've been obsessed with this show. I just binged watched it, so it's perfectly said. Mm-hmm. So it's cool to have a Miyagi in your life, and obviously, am I saying this right? The Sandcast, is that right?
Yeah, Sandcast podcast. Yep,
the #1 beach volleyball podcast. And I know that is actually incredible. So, not only are you, in my mind, the #1, you're my favorite beach volleyball player, you also have literally the #1 podcast for beach volleyball, and you came on to great, you're incredible. So how have you had to pivot? I mean, this pandemic, let's be real. You had your, I would say one of your best years, right? You're on Team USA, you're pushing for 2020, and obviously we know what's happened. How has the pandemic caused you to pivot? And how have you pivoted and been like, this isn't going to stop me?
Mm-hmm. The pandemic is so interesting with what I had gone through earlier in the quad in 2016 and 17. That was really, really tough for me. That's probably some of the more, the biggest low in my life where I was dealing with all kinds of depressing thoughts and on weeks on end and months long, where I was pretty much just depressed and confused, and I was feeling anxiety that I'd never felt before. And I was doing it alone though, not literally. I had my wife next to me, and she was fully on my team the whole time, and family and everything, great support. But in terms of my peers and my colleagues, the other players in my career, and what
they didn't know.
Everyone, it was all moving forward without me. So when the pandemic came, and I had, I got through it. I faced it head on and did a lot of self-work, and I feel like I came out better. I learned stuff, and I felt like I'm a better person now than I was before. And that's kind of was my goal, to come out of it feeling like that, even if I lost out on years of my career. But in terms of the pandemic, I feel like it was weirdly not that difficult for me. I was seeing so many other people go through something similar to what I had experienced 2 years before. So it was more like I wanted to be supportive of other people. Guys, I just went through this. It's at least we're all doing this together. You can either have that time in your life be a pause, nothing happened, everything paused, and I didn't get anything done during that time. Or you can pivot your mind and figure, okay, what can I get done? What can I gain from this time, this pandemic? And that was kind of my approach from day one. It took me a long time to figure that out when I was in my autoimmune disease. But when the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, here we go. Boom. I know what to do. And I just got to shift my mind and figure out other ways to get better. And I have a daughter who's now 17 months. So
congratulations.
It was really easy for me to just be like, okay, my priority is family, and now I have a daughter to focus on every day. I was going to be overseas. I was planning on going to the Olympics. I was going to miss a lot of her first year, and now I get to be here. So study volleyball, wrap my brain around it more, but spend time with family, and I can come out of this better than before.
God, it's amazing, right? I think that's a perfect segue for this next section. Actually, is the Stop the Stigma section. So this is our second chance / #Stop the Stigma. Give us a moment. We'll be right back. The Broken Dove podcast is sponsored by Kilo. Kilo app takes a qualitative approach to tracking your mental health by analyzing the quality of your sleep, workout, diet, even libido. Kilo keeps me dialed in. Kilo motivates me to work hard in and out of the gym. It also helps me maintain relationships and keep perspective, because no matter how bad you got it, someone has it worse. And trust this, we need you out there. Maybe do it for your son, your student. Do it for someone you've yet to meet, your inner savage. Dig in and do work. Kilo, building better humans. Back in. I believe it's important for leaders like yourself to open up about how we overcome the battle within our minds. And, this part is where I kind of talk about, I too, just so you're aware, I've also had anxieties and things like that. I have, I suffer from bipolar disorder. So I have these, I wouldn't say, too depressive of thoughts, but I've been there. I've been really down, and I have, luckily for me, I had this happen 5 years ago, and I've had, it's similar to your muscular disease. You're in remission, right? It's like it's never goes away. I'm 5 years without having what they call like an episode, which is a bummer, right? And I have like the ADHD, the anxiety, bipolar. It's like, wow, you got the triple threat of mental, you are incapacitated. But dude, these things, reading these books, here, being inspired by people like yourself, it's really puts it in perspective, one foot in front of the next. We build this thing brick by brick, right? It doesn't, everyone's got something. Everyone has a trauma. It's cool to hear how you got out of that kind of that depressive state in 2016. What was that like? And were you able to confide in anyone like a therapist? Were you able to talk to your wife? What did you do to get out of that?
My wife was she's an actress, so she's very compassionate and like wants to talk. Mm-hmm. And I'm the opposite, So she was always there for me and like wanting to talk about these things. And she has a good read on it, even if I'm not able to say it out loud all the time. But I did see he's actually a sports psychologist, but at that time I wasn't playing sports. So it was basically just a psychologist. Mm-hmm. But I talked to him, open up to him about a lot of the things that I was going through. And it wasn't even like what he taught me, but it was saying it out loud that I think was the most healing and like gave me the ability to get past it or go through it, at least, face it face to face, learn from it and move on. And I think that was probably the thing that helped me most, was acknowledging that it was there, that it existed. I even kind of put myself out there. I went and did broadcasting for the AVP tour, and I spoke a lot and was trying to be as open as I could about what I was going through and how I was feeling through my social media. And whether anyone was looking at the posts or not, I think the most important part was that I was acknowledging that it was there and owning it. That's like, I'm not embarrassed. This happens. I honestly believe that it happens to a lot of people, because I didn't think I was someone who was anxious or depressed or anything like that. I mean, if you ask anyone else, like they'd probably say I'm the opposite of that. So that's what I believed. And that's what I told myself over the years. And then when I thought about it, I was like, I think this is like, these are depressed thoughts. And I think this feeling in my heart, like this heart racing at all times throughout the day, I'm pretty sure that's anxiety. Yeah. So just like admitting it and then accepting it and being okay with it. And like, yeah, I'm gonna, I can move on with life. Like, as someone who's dealt with this, like, that's fine. It's actually liberating and nice. And you can help other people by saying it out loud. You kind of turned it into a positive, and I think that's what's most important. And then you start to realize that so many people go through it, like talking to you right now. It's like more of us probably go through it than we don't, but it's not put out there like that. That's not how we're like meant to perceive it, I guess.
So when you did that, and that was almost like you just said, I agree with everything you're saying. It's scary. I even have doubts about, this podcast. I'm like, It's like, well, should I do it? Am I going, the stigma, is it going to affect me? And then I realized I did this press tour for my movie just recently, and I talked about it on so many junkets. So it's like, I already got it out there. There might've been smaller publications, but it's out there. It's similar to stuff. You're like, I was on the tour. Something might slip, and nobody thinks in the moment, like, everyone has traumas. Everyone has somebody knows someone who's been depressed and has had negative thoughts. And we want to see people ultimately that's my belief, is that we want to give back, we want to help others. And this, just you sharing, I know helps others to say like, oh my goodness, there's someone who's on the Olympic team that struggles with this and they've overcome it. And in not only that, a physical ailment and a mental, the physical obviously affects sometimes our psychology, right, but just talking through it does help. And in my mind, even this morning, I was like, should I even do this? You know what I mean? That's life, right? Do you ever have any like panic attacks? Do you have anything like that, anxiety wise, where you're like, and what'd you do to calm that down if you had that?
I haven't had like specific anxiety attacks, at least not recently, like since I was, in the thick of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the doubts come into my mind all the time. I mean, I've been doing a podcast for, I want to say like, I should probably know this, but at least 2, maybe 3 years now. And I still think like, do people actually like this? Am I just doing this to hear myself talk?
Yes, you are. No.
Part of my point is like, it doesn't really matter. You're putting yourself out here. You're putting out a product there. And I'm not just talking about podcasts or social media or anything. Like, it's just whatever you do in your daily life, you're putting yourself out there. If people want to take it in a positive light, then great. If not, then they're probably not even going to notice, like you're not affecting people quite as much as you think you are. You have to put out yourself there, and the right people will gravitate towards you because they love what you're doing. Even if it's 5 people or no one, let's say no one listens to the podcast, you did it. You've learned a lot. You put yourself out there. People may have listened or not. It doesn't really matter. A lot of it's like what you're doing for yourself, and are you making yourself a better person? So I just think worrying about what other people think is kind of a facade. Like we're all trained to like think that other people really care a lot, but they usually don't care as much as you think they do,
Yeah, man. I mean, that totally, I'm still domed to this day. I don't have like the anxiety that is like a panic attack. I just know some people have that. And some people have really like, they have these, with bipolar, they can get really angry. I'm more of like, I actually just give away my money. It's kind of like, I think maybe what Framing Britney Spears. I think she might be one of the, like the conservatorship might be that like, yo, Britney's got a lot of money and she like hands it out,
Right.
Because you get these ideas and these manic thoughts that like everybody's everybody, and it's cool. And it's actually true. We're all equals. Right. And, but it's sometimes, those decisions aren't coming from a clear mind. Now, obviously, I've had that same thing where I made a decision and I thought this person who was my mentor would be totally bummed by some weird email. And I still to this day am rattled by it. Mm-hmm. This guy doesn't even care. In his mind, it's like, whatever, dude. I hang out with Hollywood types all the time. I thought you were on a bender, It's not that big of a deal. So to just say to everyone else who's listening, the other 2 people, is that, nobody is taking as much notice as you think when you have your mishaps.
Yeah.
But I think people do recognize the success, and that like your success is recognized more than I think your failures, which is cool. But in my mind, I always beat upon my failures way more, and I don't recognize my wins.
Well, your failures tend to turn into your successes, I feel like. Like when you really look back, you're like, oh, wow, getting through that failure was really the big part about succeeding. Like the reason I got to that point is because I took that failure head on and I made the most of it. So, I mean, yeah, when they say like you need to fail to succeed, I've completely believe that. Mindfulness in general is the biggest key. Like the other day, basically, okay, there's a lot of crap went on. Put it this way, I had a bad week this week.
Okay.
I got injured at
Tell me about it.
I got injured at the end of last season, which was before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And we were ranked really high in the Olympic rankings. We were doing really well. I got injured. I missed some of the biggest events, broke my hand. I actually punched a ref stand. But it was
really?
It's funny because it was actually celebrating. We won a match in Vienna against the Austrians in the stadium, rocking stadium. Thousands.
Take them down.
I dive for the last ball. It goes out of bounds, so I don't touch it. And my momentum takes me to the ref stand, and it's all padded. So I'm just like, F yeah. And I double fist punch the ref stand. My bone just straight snaps in my hand.
Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, terrible timing. We're in Olympic qualification in the biggest events. So we pull out of that event and we lose points. The next event is I go and play left-handed after having surgery just to get points, just to get the dead last.
Just to get in there, yeah.
Yeah. So basically it's it's not good. We did finish the year with a bronze medal in one event, so we kind of bounced back, but I lost a lot of points, basically. And so this year we're training for this first event of the year. It's the only one scheduled in Qatar. It's in 2 weeks. And then a week ago, we find out that we have to play in a country quota because our points had slipped so far. We thought we were top 15 in the world. We didn't pay attention to our entry points. We slipped to this country quota. Basically, we have to play another U.S. team, the best U.S. team, basically behind us, in one match, and the winner gets to go to this event. But we're the only ones competing for an Olympic spot, and we were trying to peak ourselves for this Qatar event in 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, not for this country quota. Anyway, Thursday comes around, we lose the match. So we just lost an opportunity, huge opportunity for the Olympic spot, whatever. It sucks, pissed.
Mm-hmm.
And I after the match, I was just like so furious. And normally I know what I would have done. I would have been swearing, maybe throw the chair, really freaking pissed. Cause
Kenny Powers shit.
It's not really fair. And it's not like, we shouldn't be playing that team. They have nothing to lose, everything to gain. We have everything to lose, nothing to gain. I shouldn't have broken my hand and lost all those points. We shouldn't even be playing there, blah, blah, blah. I have every excuse in the world. But I was in that furious state. And I know that I would have done something crazy back in the day, but I kind of went to this mindfulness state where I was kind of just observing and like saying to myself what I wanted to do instead of doing it. I was like, I really want to take my water bottle, like the metal hydro flask, and smash it against the pole. Like, I'm not even joking. I wanted to just like smash it until it like fully like bent in half. Yeah. And then I wanted to like hit the pole, and I was just so pissed, you know? But from the outside, and like what I actually did was I was just walking, and I just was quiet and just observed it all until it went away. And then I was able to come back to reality, you know? And even months before, even though I was doing it out of excitement, I punched the pole and like screwed myself over. I screwed my team over by just letting my emotions get the most of me. Like, why would you punch something? Why would you punch a ref stand? Even if it's padded, it's such a stupid thing to do. But my emotions, I let them get to me. I let them affect my actions. Now, a few months later, I'm doing it, but I'm mad, but I didn't let the emotions affect what I actually did in my actions. And it was because I went to this mindfulness state to just be aware of it and just observe it rather than letting it make me react. It's kind of a long story coming around, but mindfulness, practicing that, if I hadn't practiced it, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And I probably would have done something really stupid the other day when we had lost that match.
And so what's the next step for you guys? Obviously, like what do you do, and how do you get back in there?
Well, we just have to wait. We just lost an opportunity, basically. If the team that's right behind us in Olympic ranking gets top 4, they'll pass us. If they don't get a top 4, then we'll stay ahead of them and we go to the next event, whenever that is. It's not even scheduled right now. So we have no control. It's all out of our hands at this point. But yeah, we're in the thick of it.
So how's your hand? How's it actually feeling? Like
my hand's great.
100%?
Yeah, it's 100%. I've broken a few bones in the hands now. I had a really good doctor. I was lucky enough to have a doc that he did Drew Brees and Steph Curry. I don't know how I scored with him, but he did Drew Brees before me and Steph Curry after. I don't know how I got in with him, but it went well. I couldn't have asked for anything better in terms of healing up, but I'm I definitely go about my life differently now, knowing that I can't lose my emotions. I can't, you slip up for just even a moment. You could do something so dumb that can affect you, other people, and it's just not worth it. So practicing that mindfulness and being able to just observe where your mind's at rather than acting upon the thoughts is huge.
Were there any ramifications, like, whatever, reps wise, like, hey, why'd you punch this thing? Or was that more just like, I mean, let me be honest. I mean, who hasn't punched a wall or done something? I mean, come on. I've done it, a few months ago. You get upset, and it's such a weird thing that we do. We punch.
So stupid.
I mean, I just was joking, Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. And I did one recently where it's like, I don't know if you could see this, but you get cuts on your hand and people, you still have scars. You're like, what am I doing?
Yep.
What am I? And I remember thinking to myself, it's maybe it's just this childish thing that's still in me. I don't know why I still do it, but it also is, on one side, it's a disadvantage, but it's also probably why you compete so hard, is because you want it. And you're like, I'll do anything to get this. And you're excited. But that's the thing. We got to tame the beast that gives you the fuel. When you said you have a little bit these depressive thoughts, what were those like? What was actually going through your mind in that moment when you were really low?
Yeah. I think a lot of it was like, why me kind of thoughts, like I put in all this work, I've done everything right, and now it's just taken away. And that was like a thought that came up a lot, but I think in the long run, it was like, I lost the sense of purpose. Like, I thought that it was all these like egotistical things, like, this isn't fair, why me, all that. But when I dug deeper, it was more like I didn't have a sense of purpose for each day. I kind of lost track of that because it was like, I don't get to go to practice. I always felt like I had something to like give my day intention or put intention into my day. And I didn't have any intentions. I would just wake up and I was just like, I'm just here. And I think having a sense of purpose is huge. And that was like the root of the depressing thoughts. It's just like, I didn't have something to work towards.
So goals,
sitting around the house, like, what do? I don't know. I don't want to go get a job. Like, I refuse to go get a regular job. So yeah, having goals, but the way I got through it was I dug deeper and like figured out, okay, well, what void was volleyball filling for me? There's got to be something below that I can still find fulfillment from. And it was like, being a part of a team, that kind of stuff, where I went below the surface of just volleyball. And it was like, are there things that I can still do to fulfill me that volleyball was doing for me? And I found some of that stuff. And what, for me, it was really just growth, just growing as a human being, as a person. That's what kind of got me out of it, was like, just learn something, like do something for someone else. So that at least tomorrow you're a little bit better of a person, or a little bit smarter, or, do something so tomorrow you're a little bit more of something than you were today. And that kind of like made me feel good. That kind of got me out of it. So I started doing anything and everything that I thought might make me feel like that. Like I would do Tai Chi because it was like a moving meditation. And I was like, I'm not allowed to move right now. Doctor literally said I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything to where like I'd be sweating or I'd feel a muscle burn. It was actually dangerous for me to do that. And I'm literally like the most hyperactive person ever. Like, I've played sports my entire life. I didn't know how to do that. Yeah. So I did Tai Chi and like talked with the Master Z at Tai Chi class, and all kinds of meditation. And I just like went deep into like kind of figuring out who I was, and reading, learning, getting better at finance, getting better at something. That was kind of what helped me.
What did Master Z impart to you? Anything you have from Master Z you'd like to share with us?
Oh man, he was awesome. He was down in Marina Del Rey. He has a Tai Chi Dharma Health Institute. He's an awesome guy. what was his saying? Darn it. I wish I had it exactly. It was like, move slow and you'll never be wrong, or whatever. It was something like that. Move slowly and you'll never be wrong, because you're moving so slow that you're catching your errors as they're happening or before they happen, just by being present and like observing it. So like if your body's coming in one way and you're extremely present, you can correct it before it even happens.
Cool.
It was like this
mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah, it was just great stuff, and I thought that I could apply it to volleyball if I ever got the chance to play it again. So that felt really like purposeful.
Well, it seems like your journey overall from, obviously stand out to a little bit of a blip there, a little bit of, some, maybe you obviously had a huge injury, a chronic disease, and then you overcame it. And then you also have some things that are going on. I mean, who doesn't, right? And the mental game of sport, it's all the mind, right? What makes, in my opinion, what makes LeBron so great is that they obviously have talent. You don't get to the level you're at without talent.
Right.
You have to, everybody has talent. And then the other part of talent is everyone works hard. So nobody's like lagging and slacking off. And then there's the mental game. And that's what the other part of everything. Now we're going to switch to our rapid fire section. Speaking of mental game, we're going to go as fast as you can. Don't think, once again, right? No, don't think meat. It'll only hurt the ball club. This is as fast as we're going to go. Obviously I know the answer to first one. First one is indoor or outdoor beach volleyball?
Outdoor.
Okay. Have you ever dressed as Jason Bourne for Halloween?
No.
Tri Bourne, Jason Bourne. Come on. Hawaii or Cali?
Hawaii.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Okay. AVP or Olympic gold?
Olympic gold.
All right. Favorite song to work out to? Come on. Favorite song?
Lose Yourself.
Okay. Spaghetti. All right. Burger or hot dog?
Burger.
Okay. Loco Moco or chili chicken mixed plate?
Oh, mixed plate.
Okay. Lani Kai or pipeline?
Oh, pipeline.
Come on. No, that's a good one. You got ones. Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Favorite beach outside of Hawaii?
Oh, Rio de Janeiro.
Really? I'm obsessed with Brazil. I've never been. Is it cool?
It's awesome. Yeah. Especially for beach volleyball. It's, that's what everyone does down there. Foot volley and beach volleyball.
Wow. Well, dude, that's all we got for today. Tri Bourne, stud, Team USA, volleyball aficionado, inspiration, Sandcast. Go check them out. Do you have any plugs you want to plug? My mic is wanting to run away right now.
I mean, yeah, if you're into beach volleyball, then for sure check out the Sandcast podcast. It's very specific about beach volleyball. It kind of just gives you the ins and outs of the sport, and we bring guests on every time, so you're getting to really know the players and the people within the sport on a deep level. But other than that, I keep my Instagram up to date, and follow our journey. Things are just heating up right now with the Olympics, and it should be pretty fun to follow.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, you're going to come, this hand injury, it ain't no thing, but a chicken wing, a chili chicken wing. But yeah, I'm excited to keep following you in your journey towards gold, brother. And obviously this is the Broken Dove production. This is a Broken Dove pod. This is my first season of a pod. So I appreciate you gracing me. Come on.
Yeah.
And we're going to hit, thank you. No, dude, as I pop this like a horse. Thank you, man. So I appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Broken Dove Podcast is executive produced by Ellen Utrecht, edited by Megan Solano, audio by Dory Bavarsky, and artwork by Neve Bavarsky. Please like, subscribe, follow, stalk, DM, love them all. They're amazing. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your rave reviews, your shares, your comments, your spam to your friends, your email blasts, your clubhouse chats about this episode. Thank you so much. We appreciate all the love, the merits, the accolades, the attention, and most importantly, the thumbs up. Talk soon.